Now, are you someone who likes to go against the grain instead of following the crowd? Maybe you're the zig and not the zag. Well, then this video could be for you.
Yes, if you are looking for a good family-sized electric saloon or a hatch, there's normally one car that springs to mind, isn't there? It starts with a T, ends with a 3 and has eslamodel in between. That didn't work, did it?
No,
that wasn't so.
But look, if you don't like to follow the crowd and you want to be more of an individual, which car should you choose? Well, today we're going to help you figure that out because we have 3 alternatives to the Tesla Model 3. So we're going to figure out during this test today which one is better.
We do. But before we put our contenders to the test, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the Electrifying channel. Thank you. Okay, contender number 1 is the newest kid on the block, the Volkswagen ID.7, and it starts from just over £50,000 for this 77 kilowatt-hour model. And VW says it will have a 383-mile range. Game on, I say.
Well, I have a feeling that this is the car you will both have to beat, the BYD Seal. So it arrived late last year and did wow us all here at Electrifying. It proved more than a match for the Tesla Model 3 when we tested them back to back. And for sheer value for money, I don't think either of you stand a chance. This is the all-wheel drive excellence model that sells for £48,695 and comes with every extra you can imagine. BYD doesn't have an options list because there's just nothing left to add.
I'm going to prove that shiny and new isn't always the best. This is the Polestar 2. Yes, it's technically the old lady of the group, but with age comes wisdom, right? Polestar gave it a pretty substantial revamp last year. This is the single motor long range version, which will set you back £48,950.
Well, it's pretty obvious which one is the newest of the bunch because it is, of course, the ID.7 with its radical new looks, completely out there, futuristic. Or not at all.
It's not.
Unbelievable. It's very bland. It's such a shame. I think I know what happened. Basically, VW kind of got stung when they went like completely out there with the ID.3. So now they're paring back all of their style and design. And this is the result of that. It's basically form over any form of style. It's very aerodynamic, and we'll get onto that a bit later. It's got a little secret weapon up its sleeve. But overall, it's quite big, it's robust. Compared to these two, it's the longest. It's the tallest. All right, it's not going to be winning today's beauty competition, but don't worry, it still has a little trick up its sleeve, so don't you worry, my little ugly duckling. What have you guys got then?
I already know what you're thinking when it comes to this one because this is basically a dinosaur in electric car terms because it was launched back in 2020. It's been around for a long time and they haven't really done any mega visual updates. But look, Polestar is kind of known for its design. I don't know if you know this, but actually the former head of design at Volvo, Thomas Englath, is now CEO of Polestar. So to put him in charge of Polestar means that Polestar have focused on design right from the beginning, which is why it is still a lovely looking thing. They have done some updates, a lot of which you can't see, but you can see the smart zone. There it is. That's where there's some sensors in there. Don't know if you know that. Little sensors. That's basically it. Apart from that, I think it still looks pretty decent.
It does, and I think it shows that good classic design has a timeless quality about it because it's not looking dated and it does look great, although so does my BYD.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I know,
it's
right?
Really nice.
Right? And isn't it strange to think that if we were casting our minds back a year ago, BYD wasn't even a thing here in the UK. Since then, they have launched 3 cars. The Seal is the third, and I happen to think it's the best looking. It's just got a really nice, elegant, aerodynamic shape. I am very, very happy that they decided to ditch the build your dreams from the back of the UK cars, because that didn't look great. And I do, while we're talking about the back of the car, love that light bar. I also think this colour looks absolutely beautiful. Shadow green. What do you reckon?
I would love my downstairs loo to be that colour, actually.
I mean, that is actually basically the colour of my bedroom.
Is it?
Yeah, which is probably why I feel so.
Honestly, I just, yes, it's a big yes to this car. For me, so come on, when it comes to design, Which is the winner?
It's gotta be. Hands down, it's an absolute beauty.
Yeah.
But don't worry.
Oh no, you should worry.
Now, if you're used to other Volkswagen electric cars, you might approach the ID.7 with a little bit of caution, because it'd be fair to say that there have been a few fails in the quality and usability department. The ID.7 is actually a bit different. Ta-da! What do you think? Take a look around, because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Not perhaps what you might have been expecting. It's got a pretty decent premium feel about it. Obviously, all eyes go to this ginormous 15-inch screen, which is really good. It's got a new operating system, and I must say it's very intuitive to use. Up here we've got a nice little menu. Obviously you've got the usual Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which you can connect to wirelessly, and I did that for the first time about a week ago. I've had this car for about a week, and it was so easy. It worked first time, there was no faffing around, it was brilliant. Also, no physical buttons. However, all of the climate controls are along here at the bottom at all times. Brilliant. So it's really easy when you're driving. You don't need to faff around and go into a menu, into another menu. It's just all there, right in front of you, which is lovely. Steering wheel also has got the kind of usual buttons and control functions at your fingertips. The gear selector is over here. So that's great. The other thing that I like is that you've got quite a very small screen up here, right in front of you, your digital display, but you have a heads-up display. And as with most cars, I suppose, you've got different options with what you see on the heads-up display. But one of them, you can get like all the numbers, including how many miles per kilowatt hour, which while you're driving is actually really good, because it's just a kind of reminder of how efficiently you're driving. So it's all very well knowing that, oh, I've got 200 miles left, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're listening to music, you're driving along, you're not really paying attention, and all of a sudden you've got 20 miles left. Whereas I can just keep a close eye on that number, and I know that if I'm driving, I think when I was driving here, motorway driving, I was kind of hitting about 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour, and I know that that's relatively efficient, and I know I can get home. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, useful piece of information, I think. And then kind of looking around here, there is lots of storage. Ta-da! 2 cup holders, as you would expect. Charging ports. There's a little cubby down here. There is, oh, more storage. Quite small glove compartment. But do you know what? I don't really use glove compartments anyway. Don't know about you. So I'm not so bothered about that. And then the other thing I like is up here, the roof, because we do have that lovely glass panoramic roof. And it's big, it makes it light and airy. It's not as big as some of the competitors over there, but it's still a really nice, it's a nice place to be. Lovely seats, sporty. I think you're getting the vibe that inside this ID.7 is a nice place to be. And now it was all sounding so great. There is one little niggle that I have to draw your attention to, and it all starts down here. Now, as you can see, there are 2 buttons to open and close the windows, and yet there are 4 windows. There's also a button just above which you have to press if you want to do the rear windows. So it's just a bit of a faff. And then of course, oh, see, if you forget to unpress the rear, you're going to open the window thinking you're doing your own window, and then the back window opens. I just feel like surely there could have been enough space to just have 4 buttons for 4 windows. Now in the back, I mean, you could have a party back here, it's so big. There is masses of headroom, the floor is flat so you can fit 3 in here if you need, and you've got lots of pockets and charge points, it's brilliant. Round at the back, look at that, it's absolutely huge, and a hatchback. There is no frunk though, sad face, so the cables are going in with your luggage, but there is a storage space for them.
All right, the first thing I want to moan about before I actually talk about the interior is the doors. They don't open as wide as they should. And honestly, every time I get in one, it's much lower than you expect. And I end up bashing my head all the time, which now I'm really wary of. So now I'm going to really duck my head. Oh, yeah, see, every time I get in, I go bang, and I bang the top of my head on there. Right. Here we go. Welcome to the interior, which I'm sure you will agree isn't as airy as the ID.7. However, it's a smarter, more simplistic layout, which I am a big fan of. So it kind of feels sportier. Especially in here, you feel like you're in like a little cockpit. Now, back in the day, back in 2020, when this car was originally released, this screen was considered big, but it's not now, is it? It actually looks quite little. But look, you've got the Google operating system going on inside there. You do have Apple CarPlay, but it is wired. I know, it's 2024. We're used to things being wireless now, so that is wired. But apart from that, in here the build quality is just really lovely. Everything you touch feels lovely. Sometimes when you're in a different car, you get a lot of scratchy plastics and things like that, but not in here. I really, really like it in here. Every time I've sat in a Polestar 2, I have been more than happy because everything just feels and looks very smart, very nice, very minimalistic, which is a word I didn't think I would be able to say, but I said it, so I'm going to say it again. Minimalistic. Simple, lovely, beautiful.
Rear seats, a bit disappointing. I mean, you've got a big rear tunnel, which means it is technically a 4-seater. Headroom is a little bit tight, and then again, it's going to be tighter if you don't go for the panny roof.
The boot is very much like a boot. I mean, it's nothing special, it's a boot, but there are a couple of party tricks. Look at this. Ta-da! So if you are carrying like a couple of shopping bags and you worry about them sliding all over the shop, you can either put them behind or put them in the front, and you know they're not going to go anywhere. Yeah, you've got 405 litres of space in here, and if you fold the seats down, you've got 1,095 litres of space, but added bonus. Look at that! Beautiful under boot floor, love that. Yes, good deep, put all your wellies in there. There is also a frunk, which is where you would just keep your cables in there, and maybe your sneaky snacks, the ones that you don't want people to know about. In there. So.
I'm going to start by talking about the door opening. So I'm okay when I get in, but because of the swoopy shape, some of my larger colleagues may struggle a tiny bit with getting in. I'm okay, I'm 5'4", but if you are very tall, it might be something that you want to try out for size before you make a commitment. However, if you have a taste for the finest things in life, then this is the car for you. There is a lot going on in here, but I like it. Every single surface has been textured. It's all very tactile, different colours stitching, different materials. And my goodness, BYD has packed this car with kit, particularly on this top spec excellence, which actually is still, even though it's top spec, the least expensive of the 3 cars that we have here today. So you've got 2 screens. You've got the 10.5-inch display with all the driver information just behind the steering wheel. And you get this almost TV-like larger infotainment screen here, just there on the dashboard. Like the Dolphin in the Atto, its party trick is this. Ta-da! Rotates at the touch of a button. And because this is the top model, of course, it also comes loaded with a head-up display. All of the tech works absolutely fine. It's not perhaps quite as intuitive as, say, Nick's Polestar with its Google operating brain. But actually in terms of screen size and just navigating around it, I've actually really liked using it. I'd have liked the colours to maybe be a bit more vibrant, but other than that, it's absolutely fine. And if physical buttons are your thing, which they are definitely my thing, you've also got a few of them there, just handily right there where the gear selector is. And on the subject of the gear selector, look, it sparkles, it's a crystal one. There's a lot going on in here, but I like it.
It is actually also a little bit disappointing to find that CarPlay and Android Auto aren't wireless. You're going to need to plug in to use either of those. There are 2 wireless charging pads here under the screen, but the surface is really flat, which means that they can pop off the charging surface when you go over a bump. The seats are comfortable and have loads of adjustment in them. And as for storage, well, there's lots of that just about everywhere. The centre console has plenty of space, there's an open cubby under the gear selector, and the door pockets are a decent size too. There's more good news in the back, and that lovely panoramic roof, yes, like virtually everything else on this car, it's standard. Legroom in the back is excellent, and there's a decent amount of space under the front seats to park your feet. The Seal is actually the only saloon here, which might mean it isn't as practical if you own a dog, for example. But you can fold the back seats down when you need to carry longer things, and there is a small but rather useful 53-litre frunk up front.
When you get into the ID.7, you are not going to be disappointed. Honestly, this drive is amazing. This is a bumpy road that I'm on right now, and yet it's smooth. I'm going relatively fast. It's raining, it's windy, and yet it's quiet in here. This genuinely kind of took my breath away the first time I drove it. It is a beautifully smooth ride. So if you're looking for that kind of more executive car, and that sort of ride and feel, then you're going to get it with the ID.7. So well done, Volkswagen, I would say. This is a really, really impressive drive. Now, the other thing, which is well, it's a bit spooky really, this has a 77 kilowatt hour battery. The same battery that you would find in an ID.3. And yet, this is bigger, it's longer, it's taller, and yet it goes further. How did they do it? The beauty of science and technology, which I love, because batteries are just getting more efficient, and they've basically got a more efficient motor and battery in this, so you get a longer range. Amazing. So the range in this is actually 383 miles officially. Now I would take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, because I was getting, so this morning when I left my house, it said I had 80% in the battery, but actually only 280 miles of range, which is 73% of that official range. It was a bit cold, I didn't precondition the car, but yeah, I don't think it is as efficient as the others, to be fair. However, you know, you're starting off with a pretty decent range of over 380 miles, so it's not too bad. Driving here today, 50 miles journey, most of it motorway driving, kind of average speed, 60, 65 miles per hour, honest, but it used 80 miles of range. So it's maybe not the most efficient car, but hopefully it has enough range to start with. It's not going to be an issue. Let's talk about brake horsepower. This has 282 brake horsepower. So yeah, you know, it's not the fastest, it's not the most powerful compared to the other two, but maybe this is more of a relaxing drive. Maybe you're not looking for speed. 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds. The other thing I should probably mention is the regen braking. It's good, but it's not really good. You are not going to be able to drive with just one pedal. You will need to use the brake, otherwise you will roll into the car in front of you. So that's the only slightly disappointing thing. Perhaps we should be calling this a kind of big, comfy cruiser. Feels like it. And I don't think that's anything to apologise for. Be proud, VW ID.7. So there you go. I think the driving experience in the ID.7 is its secret weapon, which we shouldn't keep secret. We should tell everyone about.
Right, this Polestar that we have here is the single motor long range version. Long range is the key word here. Do you want to know how far this will go in between charges? 406 miles. Yeah. 406. It's actually one of the handful of cars that will go over 400 miles, which is just blooming impressive.
Talking of speed, 0 to 60 is 5.9 seconds. That can't get close to the BYD, but it's faster than the lumbering VW. It has the fastest top speed as well, but that's probably only relevant if you try to take it to Germany and go on the Autobahn and set a record or something.
It's firm, but it's not too firm. Kind of feels sportier compared to the other two, if you know what I mean. Because this thing will go. How many horsepower, I hear you say? 299. which is more than enough for a car like this. And yeah, that rear-wheel drive feeling is quite lovely. I mean, you do have a couple of different drive modes. So you've got like light, standard and firm. If you have it on standard as well, you can go full one pedal driving, which does take a little bit of getting used to if you're not used to one pedal driving in electric cars. I really like it. I'm a big fan. Always try before you buy, but I think it's blooming lovely to drive this thing.
So under here is an 82.5 kilowatt hour battery, which uses BYD's rather clever blade technology. So this is where all the cells are arranged in long strips or blades. And it's very good because it makes the battery very robust and strong. This is also the only car that uses LFP chemistry, which is longer lasting and doesn't use cobalt. So that's a win-win right there.
In terms of range, the Seal has a WLTP figure of 354 miles, which on paper is actually the lowest of all three cars. You get a heat pump fitted as standard, so you can expect around 290 miles in the winter and up to 320 miles when the weather gets warmer. However, I do have to admit, along with secretly really liking how it looks both inside and out, the Polestar has also managed to eke out more range from what is the same size battery.
No, the driving experience is generally very good, I think, anyway. This is the top spec model, as I said. It's all-wheel drive and has a power output of, wait for it, 530 brake horsepower. It's punchy, that, isn't it? Of course, it makes it the most powerful of the three cars we have today. But in fact, even the single motor version of this, which has 308 brake horsepower, is still more powerful than the other two. Sorry, ladies. So in terms of the ride, it's pretty firm, but I actually really like it. It feels very stable going into corners. And overall, I think BYD have struck a very good balance with the Seal between it feeling fun and sporty, but also comfortable. So this all-wheel drive version, as you would expect, has got loads of grip, which is very nice on a horrible rainy day like this. And given that the 0 to 62 time is just under 4 seconds, you've got loads of punch to nip in and out of traffic if you need to. So get the Seal out onto country roads. And this is a really nice balanced car to drive. There are options to alter the steering and the suspension setup to suit your preference. Sports mode, of course, makes the steering feel more direct and tightens up all the responses. I actually prefer the standard setup, which I think just suits the more, I guess, engaged but relaxed vibe that the car has. My slight disappointment, though, is brake regeneration. It's not quite one pedal driving. And, you know, I absolutely love that about electric cars, and I wish that there was a slightly stronger setting for that for when you're driving around town, for example. But other than that, this is a car that I really enjoy driving, whether that's on a long journey on the motorway or just around town.
I think I found one thing that you guys can't beat. Can we talk about my flap? It opens upwards. So when it rains, it's covered.
Okay. Yeah, or also provides a nice sort of slope for the raindrops to fall down and, you know, goes in there.
I have a tissue.
Does that come with the car?
It can do, yes.
Tesla's got one of them.
But there's no Tesla here.
Nissan Leaf does that.
Yeah.
Nope. No
Genesis GV60 does the same as well.
Guys, we are reviewing, to remind you, the BYD and the Polestar. Win right there.
I have just 3 words for you, Nick. Clutching at straws.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on. Charging is pretty quick too, at 175 kilowatt hours, which is faster than the Seal, but can't match Nicola's Polestar 2.
I've got the longest range though, remember, so when you do need to stop, it will charge faster than Nikki and Ginny's cars too, which means I will be able to go further than those two between charges, and when I stop, I'll be on my way before them as well. I mean, I'll be at home with my feet up while they're still talking about shoes or something at the charge point.
The Seal can rapid charge at speeds of up to 150 kilowatts on a DC charger, which does make it the slowest charging car of our trio. A 10 to 80% charge will take around 10 minutes longer than it will in the Polestar, at around 38 minutes.
My ID.7 has some lovely stuff on it. LED matrix headlights and Car 2X. Actually, I should say that as Car 2X because it comes with an exclamation mark at the end. Now, that might sound like a registration number, but what it actually means is that the ID.7 can electronically talk to other VWs nearby, so they can warn each other about bad weather, accidents and traffic, and maybe even a cheeky bit of gossip. Now, quite a lot of the tasty stuff that you can see on this car is actually on the options list. The Interior Pack Plus costs £2,000 and it brings the posh sound system and the better seats. We've also got the Exterior Pack Plus, which gives us the beautiful smart glass panoramic roof, which changes at the press of a button. Now, for some reason, they also bundle in adaptive chassis control, presumably because people who like a sunroof want better handling. But together for that, it's a whopping £4,370. Ouch. I also find it a bit odd that a heat pump is not included. It is in fact a £1,050 option, which seems a little bit tight because it's pretty standard on cars which cost half the price of this ID.7.
This is a quality car, and as you would expect, that means you get some very nice toys to play with. But it's a little bit short of kit compared to the other two. You got to get the checkbook out if you want some nice bits. So this one has packs with things like the adaptive cruise control and the glass panoramic roof, which adds £6,000 to the bill. Yeah, 6. I'm not going to be winning the spec wars here.
Now, if you're a bit of a gadget lover, or you just hate having to hit the options list in order to get your perfect spec, look no further. Because this car does have everything. Panoramic roof, standard. Heat pump, standard. Premium sound system, that'll be standard. All three of those things are expensive extras on both the Polestar and the ID.7. And if vehicle to load is on your wish list, and it really is very useful, this is the only car that it's available on. And yes, to continue a theme, it's standard.
Right, I just want to throw my hat into the ring and say, in terms of range and charging, Polestar wins. I will get further, I will charge faster. So it's a no-brainer in terms of that.
If that's all you care about.
It's a big deal in terms of electric cars.
Yeah, but agreed, yeah.
But VW ID.7 is a lovely drive. It's very smooth, very quiet. It's nice and sedate, and I like that about it. And it has a very big practical boot.
Yeah, it is also the least efficient, even though you were boasting about aerodynamics right at the start of this video.
Yeah, and also the most expensive.
Yeah.
So shall I now
They
come
are
to the
such bullies.
Shall I come to the least expensive car of the three, actually? The BYD Seal, which I think when you look at it as an all-round package and what you get for your money, not only, as I said, is it the least expensive, but you also get loads of kit with this car. So I think on that, it definitely has to win. And just one more time for the crowd, Shadow Green.
Shadow
Green,
green.
ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Give that a round of applause.
Beautiful.
And yeah,
All right, shall we do it?
Oh, we do the thing.
We'll do the thing.
Okay.
All right, I'm counting.
Okay.
Say the name of the car. 3, 2, 1.
BYD!
Yeah.
Oh, it is deserving.
Yeah.
It really is.
Blimey.
Blimey, all
Across
three.
the board.
All three.
A car that no one had ever heard of before, and it didn't even exist.
Exactly a year ago.
Wow.
Wow. Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comments below. We love a healthy argument. We normally have one ourselves, but we haven't this time. So feel free to argue with us. And as always, if you aren't already, please do subscribe to the channel and switch your notifications on, because as always, if you're into electric cars, this is the place to be. Right, who wants to come in my BYD?
Yeah.
Shadow Green.
Actually, I might-
Shotgun.
I'm going to go and dry off.
Yeah.